All right, Bulls Nation, what a night it was for our beloved Chicago Bulls as they took on the Atlanta Hawks. I was very hyped going into this game to begin with because I felt like with the Bulls going into it, winners of 4 of the last 5 games, and Trae Young being as hot as he has been since the All-Star break, pretty much averaging about 31 points and 9 assists. Two teams that are clearly in rebuilding mode. Um, some would say two teams trying to tank, whatever, but I thought it would be a pretty good game based on that aspect of it in terms of two teams trying to learn how to win, trying to establish a winning culture. I just felt like this was going to be a good game, but boy, I had no idea it was going to turn out to be a historical game when all was said and done. As I mentioned before, the Bulls had come into this game winners of 4 of 5 games, and a big part of that has a lot to do with the play of Zach LaVine. He continued to continue his solid play, and he got off to a good start in the first quarter, as he finished with about 13 points. Chris Dunn had been struggling over the last few games with his shot, but tonight got off to a pretty solid start, especially from behind the arc. Um, Only had about 5 points and 2 assists in that first quarter, but the fact that he was able to knock down some shots early, that certainly had to help his confidence. But when it was all said and done, the Hawks went on a 12-0 run to take a 33-26 lead on the Bulls after one. Fast forward to the second quarter, led by the Bulls bench, they fought back in this game midway through the second, taking a 42-41 lead, and they used a 10-0 run that saw the Bulls force quite a few turnovers. They were able to get out in transition to get some easy baskets because of it. A big key to that during that stretch was Shaquille Harrison, who ended up with 7 points during that stretch and some pretty solid defense. But from that point forward in the second quarter, it was pretty nip and tuck. Atlanta pretty much took a lead into halftime at 60 to 57. But looking at some of the things that took place in the first half in terms of statistics, Zach LaVine had 17 points and 2 assists. He was very efficient from the field. He shot about 50% from the field overall, 60% from behind the arc, with 3 of 5 shooting from three-point range in the first half. And Chris Dunn continued his solid play in that first half as well, with 11 points, 4 assists, and 2 of 3 from three-point shooting, as was Otto Porter, who was pretty solid with 12 points. Now, Lauri Markkanen, I think, made a shot towards the end of the first half to kind of get the Bulls to 57, but hadn't really got it going by that time. But in the second half, 108, he came with it. I mean, he started to heat up. He finished with 11 points in that third quarter. Otto Porter kept it going, as did Zach LaVine, and Chris Dunn continued his hot shooting from behind the arc in that third as well. But the story of the third for me, for the Bulls, was the energy that they played with. Over the course of the season, there have been times when the Bulls would come out of the half and proceed to just lay an egg. I mean, just struggle mightily in the third quarter, giving up 30-something, 40 points in some cases to other teams in that quarter. But tonight they came out, played with a great deal of energy in that third quarter. They did a phenomenal job of sharing the ball in the third, so much so that it led to the team scoring 38 points of their own as they shot 59% from the field. One of the things that they also did in that third that stood out to me was they forced Trae Young to be more of a passer in that third quarter. They took away his scoring opportunities. They made him become a facilitator. That was key, because one of the key guys that he likes to get the ball to a great deal, in John Collins, was out tonight with an illness. He was out of the game due to the flu. So the Bulls were pretty much putting the onus on the others, if you will, to try to beat them. And in that third quarter, they struggled to make shots. By the fourth quarter, the Bulls had taken a double-digit lead at one point, leading by as many as 13 points. But being as a young team as we are, and a team that's still trying to learn how to win games and hold on to leads, Trae Young was able to get them back into it, along with some solid rebounding from the Hawks, especially on the offensive end. And from there, the Hawks went on a run to take a 121-116 lead, and a great deal of that was due in part to the Bulls' turnovers, of course, and then the fact that it seemed like the team just forgot what got them the lead to begin with. A lot of that had to do with sharing the ball, good player movement, good ball movement, and we definitely went away from that during that period in which Atlanta was able to get back into the game. And so that's one of the things That that was one of the growing pains that you're gonna have with a team like the Bulls that's young and rebuilding and trying to grow and develop um, a winner's mentality and having an understanding for how to win games down the stretch is doing what got you the lead throughout. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that throughout. We were able to get back into the game and take a 5-point lead. But over a little over a minute left in the game, Otto Porter was like, "No way, we're losing to the Hawks tonight." He decided to put the team on his back. He connected on a three-pointer to cut the lead from 121 to cut the lead to 121, 119. And in the next Bulls possession, he drove to the basket for a layup to tie the game at 121. Trae Young then followed that up with a three-pointer at the top of the key to to put the Hawks up by 3. And then with 2.4 seconds left in the game, a little bit over somewhere around that time, Otto Porter Jr. Um, was fouled on the three-point shot. He made all three-pointers and forced overtime. In that overtime, Zach LaVine got back on track as he finished with 11 points, but it wasn't enough as the game went to a second overtime. Okay, in the second overtime, Arch knocked down a corner three to tie the game at 147. And Otto Porter Jr. he had an opportunity to win the game on the drive to the basket with a layup attempt, but he was unable to connect on that one. And the Bulls and Hawks went to triple overtime. In the third overtime, we saw Zach LaVine continue to try to put the Bulls on his back as he continued to score in that overtime period and ultimately ended up with a new career high of 47 points. And the final seconds of the third overtime was interesting because you had Shaquille Harrison get in the game. He tipped the ball from Trae Young, forcing Trae Young to try to reach back and get it. He ended up stepping out of bounds. 3 seconds left of the game, Bulls ball. Get the ball to Zach LaVine, who was pretty much playing very well at that point. And he ends up committing an offensive foul, and that led to a turnover for the Bulls. And 1 second left on the clock for the Hawks to try to win it. And fortunately for us, they were unable to capitalize on it. And the game went to a fourth overtime. Fast forward to quadruple overtime. Fourth overtime, the Bulls got back to sharing the basketball. Robin Lopez was able to make some key putback shots, and Larry Marketing went to the free throw line for 3 free throws, which ultimately was pretty much the go-ahead points for the game because that pretty much put the Bulls ahead for good, and there was no turning back after that. The Bulls ultimately won a thriller, 168, 161, in 4 overtimes. So tonight's game was great in terms of the contributions that were given by. It was a great team effort, but the new big three, if you will, of Zach LaVine, he finished with 47 points, which is a career high for him, 9 rebounds and 9 assists. Larry Marketing continued his stellar play with 31 points, and 17 rebounds. And Otto Porter Jr. also had 31 points with 10 rebounds and 4 assists. We also got great contributions from the bench from Shaquille Harrison with 13 points, and of course, as always, solid defense. Arch had 10 points and 6 rebounds. But Wayne Selden was to me an unsung hero as well. Now he didn't shoot the ball very well. He pretty much finished 1 of 10 from the field between the 2-point and 4-point, the 2-point shots and the 3-point shots that he took. He took 10 shots overall and only knocked down 1. Finishing with 5 points and 4 assists, but he made some key plays in terms of 50-50 balls. He was winning them 50-50 balls like it was going out of style, and that led to the Bulls getting some extra possessions and some key points too. So he helped out a lot, and that says a lot to me about when you're not having a great scoring night or great shooting night, there are other ways to help your team win, and he definitely did that. So I thought this was a great victory for the Bulls. It was a great opportunity in terms of learning how to win, close out games, overcoming adversity within the game, and I like how the team was able to do that. Now, next up, the Bulls will take on the Hawks yet again. They have a home and home against each other. This time it'll be Sunday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, thanks for checking the channel out. It has been my pleasure. Perimeter D, post-game recap by none other than your girl, Queen Chill Mode. Y'all have a blessed night. Good night.